It'll be a short one today. Short one today. Wrap it up. How's the project?
Great.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Holy crap.
Great. The project was great.
Yes. You're welcome that you're watching it. You're the one.
Oh yeah, you're the one.
That one, it's funny because a few of the videos I posted have like hundreds of thousands of hits, and then some have like 12. So it's, that's one of the ones that has like 12. So you can tell somebody was on there. Good, I'm glad it was helpful. Thanks. I'll forget you covered that in 30 seconds. Appreciate it. Great, good stuff. Okay. Oh, I know, it's there. It's there. Good. I'm glad you, well, at least one person liked it. I didn't find it upsetting. I got a really weird email about how hard it was to understand it. I was like, wow, I hope that's an outline. I hope a little bit. It wasn't from you?
Well, it wasn't for me, but yeah.
No. Didn't like it. Didn't like it. Didn't like it. Okay, good. So, it's good to hear that. It is good to hear, so it's either, well, anyway. It's good to hear stuff like that, which is kind of why I set up next Thursday to be the way it is. I want to collect information from you guys about how you learn. More than I already do. I can tell some things by what you turn in, by reading your work, especially the exams, which I make you write a lot more in those, like why, interpret what's it mean, what's it different. I know that pisses you off. I know it does, because you're not used to math classes and make you write too. But at the same time, I get to look inside your brains that way and know how they work a little bit. In like illegal way. Sort of crap you over and look at inside. So I like Thursday, a week from today, we have our exam at 10:15, I guess. So you just come in with your exam done, and then I'll have a survey for you to do. And then if we have time after and you want to, we can circle the wagons and have a conversation about the class and what worked and what did. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but I do want you to do the survey so I can get some data back from you guys. I know a bunch of you, I'm assuming a bunch of you have done the student evals for the course, and I appreciate that. I won't see those for a while. And those are mandated by the school, and they're all the school's questions. I didn't pick any of those. I mean, I helped guide the picking of the questions, but there's stuff I want to ask that's like pertinent to this course and this section of this course that I couldn't get into those evals. So that's why I made the survey I did. So you'll be done doing all the stuff for the course by the time you walk in here on Thursday. But then I want to ask you a bunch of questions, like things like, you know, the video, like how many and what type of the videos did you watch? How would you make them different if you had to make a YouTube channel? How many assessments would you prefer to have? Stuff like this. I'm making up questions as I go and writing down. I'll turn, and then I'll just bring a document for you guys to do on Thursday. So that's what we'll do. It might not take 20 minutes for you. You might be out here in 20, 10, 15, whatever. But the more data I can get from you guys, the better, so I can see how you think. Because how you think, if I can approach the course and how you think, that will hopefully help you learn things more easily, rather than trying to force you to learn the way I learn, which is definitely not the way you want to learn. I've told you enough horror stories about University of Delaware to know that I'm getting away from that. So good. I do want to hear about this project, and the last one, and the previous one, and all the quizzes, and the exams, and the videos, and everything else, all on Thursday. Cool, makes sense?
We have class
No class Tuesday, stay home. Sleep. No class next week. Well, then go to that final, yes. We have one at 1 o'clock, yes, definitely. Go to your final if you have one. If you don't have one, don't stay home. Do something else. Roll dice right now. Just gonna roll up wheel. What else? Quizzes? Anybody do the quizzes? Decent? No quizzes? You guys are pretty much done. Yeah, that's good. That was a chit chat to you about the number. This is the first time I've ever tried this way. And I've seen a decided lack of quizzes coming in at the end, which kind of makes sense. And you guys just got them all done at the beginning and kind of let it tail off at the end. So I want to hear your input on that too. Because it was a trial, something to do this term. Let's see how that worked out for you. Maybe you like it, maybe you didn't. We'll chit chat next week about that. The project was either good or bad. I'm going to take that as average and spare. Use the outliers to get an average. Somewhere in there. Interesting is good.
It was interesting.
Good, interesting is good.
I thought it was kind of real wacky though. It was 6%. Really bad.
It just sucked at as much as it's crawling through my nose. It's brilliant. You thought it was interesting, 6%. Finish that statement. I thought it was interesting, 6%. You, Richie, the 6%?
Yeah.
What was interesting about it? What was interesting about it?
You're so way out
It
there.
sucks. The test sucks. That's the whole point of the
Terrible
project.
test.
The point of the project was to have you understand what a false positive rate is and how it can be applied. When you go to the doctor and they tell you you have something, you now have a tool to analyze their claim. That's the whole point. The example 3, 4, whatever it was, the Down syndrome of my neighbor, holy crap. No matter what comes out of that test, there's a 99.9999% chance that he's fine. So the question begs the question, why take the test? Holy crap! Why would you even take the Lyme disease test? If you test positive for Lyme disease, what's the chance you have the disease? 6%. There's a 94% chance you don't, based on that, right? If you test negative, what's the chance you have the disease? It was close to 100, right? With a negative test result. With a negative test, it's almost a perfect negative test result. It's exactly almost an opposite positive test result, so it begs the question, why take the test? Who the hell is funding that company to make that crappy test? I don't know.
Monsanto.
They're breeding Lyme disease. Sons of bitches, putting it in corn. Don't eat your corn. But that's the point. Yes, the project, there's not much math in it. It was like making a box and multiplying. Pretty straightforward. But the power behind what you're doing, that formula on the front page that maybe made you puke in your throat a little bit, you were doing that formula in the boxes. You might not have picked up that fact, but you were doing that in the boxes. When you took the 10,000, I'm assuming most of you used the 10,000 number to base off of, perfect. You start with the 10,000 and you apply a probability to that, whether it was 0.00207 or 0.008, whatever the percentages were, that's a probability. And then when you apply the specificity or sensitivity to those numbers, that's a conditional probability. What's the chance you tested positive, boom, given that you have the disease? Well, that's exactly what the sensitivity is. What's the chance you tested negative, boom, given that you don't have the disease? That's the specificity. I mean, you get lost in the language and the probability, so you do it in terms of a little box, and it makes it much easier. But you're doing that formula. It's so funny when I get in fist fights with statisticians. You're not using a formula. It's not fair. But you're not making them do this. I know I'm not. It's like also I'm not making them build the bike before they ride it. They're just riding their bike. I mean, yeah. Anyway, yeah.
You got Lyme disease, are you sure?
Well, fairly sure. I probably still have it too. Well, here's the first time I had it. Well, I worked out. I don't know if I give you the whole backstory. I worked outside in the woods for years. Every summer when I was in college, and actually late high school and early college, I'd go to Mount Cuba Observatory. Had this rolling estate, beautiful in Delaware, near where they filmed Dead Poet Society. Some of those, you guys saw that movie. There's some sections that were filmed near there. And I used to go out in the woods, and most of it was kept fairly natural, but then we'd have invasive weeds come in to clear the invasive weeds out, like multiflora rose, things like that. Well, there's deer mice everywhere around that area. There's not a whole lot of deer mice out here. I don't think there are field mice out here more than deer mice, I think. And I didn't know anything about Lyme disease. I didn't know squat about it. Until one day, I got up to, go to work, went to work, came back, and then my band was recording a demo that night. And we were trying to sing the backup vocals, and it was hard to open my mouth. What the hell's going on? And then as the night went on, it got harder and harder to blink until I couldn't blink anymore on my left side. And when I realized my whole left side of my face got paralyzed. So I taped my eyes shut, freaked out. I'm like, my eyes gonna dry out. So I taped it shut and went to the doctor. And they said you have Bell's palsy. I'm like, what the hell is Bell's palsy and why do I have it? So I go to the doctor. He doesn't know why I got it. Now it's late at night by this point. So the next day I left my eye tape shut. Went to the doctor the next day. I was 21. I remember I was 21 when this happened. No, it was 20. I don't know, late teens, early 20s, somewhere in there. I went to the AI Institute. And they said, pull your shirt off, let's do a physical. And I pulled my shirt off and I'm like, whoa. And I'm like, oh, that's not good to hear you take your shirt off. And they said, turn around. And I turned around and they said, look at your back. I'm like, okay, my eyes are up here.
Yeah.
You're a doctor, right? So they go, okay, put you in front of a mirror. And I put in front of a mirror and they said, now look. They had like 2 mirrors so you could look in the mirror and see your own back, And there was a huge red bullseye ring on my back. And that's the telltale sign of Lyme disease, is the bullseye. There was another one on my foot that I had never seen, a really faint one that was on my foot, and one on the back of my calf that I had never seen. I'm like, how did you not see this? I'm like, I don't spend a lot of time staring at myself in the mirror. Sorry to have that narcissistic lack that I think you need to have to identify Lyme disease. So I know the Bell's is not a normal symptom of Lyme disease, it just happened to be in my case. Because I'm me, I did a Monte Carlo simulation. Your third project, FYI, is a direct descendant of what I'm about to tell you. Did I tell you this? How I figured out the chance I got Bell's palsy based on all that. So here's the deal with Bell's palsy. As Lyme disease, first of all, the deer tick that bites you, its first meal has to be on an infected deer mouse. These are called deer ticks, and you think, oh, deer ticks, that means they hang up on deer. Well, they do. But they get Lyme disease from deer mice, which are these little tiny cute little mice that owls eat, things like that. A deer tick, which you saw a picture of, a little tiny thing, right? It has to eat its first meal after its larva stage, whatever the little baby stage of a bug is. Its first meal has to pick up that bacteria from that deer mouse. There's a very small chance of that happening, apparently. I just got lucky. But not only that, then I got bit by that deer tick. I never did find the damn thing. I've only found one deer tick in my life, and it wasn't on me. So I don't know. I don't know if it was on my back. I didn't see it because of the bullseye. You saw how small they are. I mean, they're impossible to see almost. Then it has to go through phase 1 and phase 2 undetected before you start taking penicillin for it. I never saw phase 1. Phase 2 is the rings. Never saw them. Went right through to the damaging phase, which is phase 2, I guess, or phase 3, whatever. And then the Bell's palsy is another condition. Essentially, what I did was I went to the store, bought 5 birds, and got 5 roosters. That's what happened to me. In a nutshell, that's what happened. And what I did was I did a random number simulation to figure out the chance was something like 0.00002 was the chance of me getting Bell's palsy as a result of Lyme disease, even though I was working in a place that had pretty prevalent Lyme disease. So lucky me, yay, and then a couple years later I got it again. And at this point, I went to the doctor and like, give me amoxicillin. I'm like, what do you need? I'm like, I showed him the ring. He's like, okay, here you go. Because it's so prevalent that the ring is telltale. That ring just showed up on my arm and I stopped. But again, I never found the damn things. I mean, they're so...
Ticks here are so much bigger than they are back there.
Say that again?
Ticks here?
We have those too. The wood ticks.
Yeah,
we have those too.
big.
And guess where Rocky Mountain spotted fever is? There! Nowhere near the Rocky Mountains. Unbelievable. Wow. Unbelievable to me. Yeah, Oregon has almost no tick-borne disease. I did some research into it when I moved out here. I'm like, Jesus. With my luck, it's going to follow me. There's a little tiny incidence of Rocky Mountain and Lyme on the coast in like one small area, teeny tiny area. And I think that the deal is those ticks can't survive in the extreme swings we have here. So, yay, we don't have poison ivy or deer ticks or wood ticks. In Bend?
No, it wasn't.
Not in Bend, you know.
In the valley.
The valley. That's like Canada, dude. That's a whole different climate.
No, it's not. This afternoon.
No, I'm saying climate-wise, Em. Climate-wise. There is poison ivy at Smith Rock. I found some.
What?
At Smith Rock. Not like in the climbing area, but if you go, okay, so you've been to Smith Rock. If you go all the way to the end of the parking area, there's a turnaround parking area right there. The basalt columns. If you hike over the basalt down to the river right there, near the river, there's some fallen down trees, and there are small pockets of poison ivy down there. It's either poison ivy or poison sumac. I don't think it's sumac. They look almost identical. I'm like, son of a bitch. Look at that. Just little pockets of it right there. And I've had poison ivy thousands of times, so I know exactly what it looks like. I can tell the difference between it and Virginia creeper. Yes. We have 11 hell's Virginia creeper. But anyway, yes, it's funny to see a little tiny pocket of poison ivy and terrifying. So if you're allergic, who's had poison ivy? Who's had poison ivy in here? Yes,
I'm immune to it.
You're immune to it?
I'm immune
I
to
thought I was too till I said it.
Yeah, I've never gotten it and been exposed.
Good for you. Good for you. Good for you. Apparently I am allergic to it. How do we get to talking about that? How do we get to talking about that? Oh, the project, yeah. So anyway, now you know. Now you know when you get positive test results or negative test results, how you can analyze it. That's a wonderful thing. That's a wonderful thing. I talk about poison ivy. Poison oak's worse. There is poison oak in the valley. Is that what somebody said? That's, for me anyway, that's worse than poison ivy. I get it much itchier, much more stinging. Stinging nettles, we got plenty. That actually, what's interesting about in Delaware, where I used to live, stinging nettles and poison ivy grow in pretty wet areas. And so does this plant called jewelweed. And I don't know if that grows out here or not. It's a tubular plant. It's a weed that stands anywhere from this tall to this tall. The taller it gets, the bigger the stem gets. You can break the stem. It's very easy to break it. It's not a woody stem. It's a fibrous kind of, and it's filled with some kind of a liquid. That liquid is a natural antidote. Just so you know, if it grows out here, it's a natural antidote to the stinging of stinging nettles, and it'll get the oil of the poison ivy off your skin. And it grows right next to it in Delaware. I'm not sure if it grows out here, but it's one of those examples of nature being awesome. So, and the thing about it's called, we call it jewel weed, like a jewel. But I'm not sure what it's actually called. But it's one of the, poison ivy, at least for me, if you get yourself exposed to it, if you can wash it off right away with soap and water, no problem. It's gonna sit on you for a while, or sit on me for a while. Jewelweed, that's what was so about their mountain bike. I don't carry soap with me. So their mountain bike, and now shit, listen, and you'll find jewelweed, rub it, kind of, and rinse it off, and good to go. So if that exists out here, that might be a nice
I don't know,
answer.
I've never even heard of it.
Jewelweed is what we call it. You can apparently you can make like smoothies out of it and drink it, and you take it internally, and then that's supposed to fight it from the inside. I wouldn't do that until you find out if it's toxic or not. Some of my hippie friends used to do it. Haven't seen them in a while. Not going to advertise that. Actually, I just did. I guess it hurt me. So. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. How we doing? How's week 10 treating you? Ready to be, ready to be freaking done. Yes, it's almost over. And this is going to be a short one today. Yes! Get the hell out of here. I tried to finish it on Tuesday, but you guys, I didn't want to rush through. And you guys kept asking these awesome questions, and we had the dice roll going, and I hate to rush. But I did want to just kind of wrap up where we were on Tuesday to make sure. This will also help you through the last couple pages of your exam, which are multiple choice, circle the correct answer kind of things. This is, I mean, this will help you answer those if you haven't already figured it out. You may have been able to figure out at least part of that from Tuesday. And if you can't, that's what today's all about. That's what today's all about. So remind me what the hell we did on Tuesday.
We rolled some
We
dice.
did roll